why the college football playoff has to expand. This is an issue that I think is going back to the start of the college football playoff in 2014. And it really needs to be addressed because I think the playoff system is really not good how it is. 4 teams is not a playoff. There are a lot of teams that don't get in that should, and there are a lot of teams that get in but shouldn't. So today, I have my good friend Cole Adams. He has a YouTube channel of his own too. I'll leave a link to his below. Go subscribe to him. He's awesome. But we have some different opinions on how to expand the thing. I'm going to let Cole go first. I'll let the guests go first. So Cole, take it away.
And if you're new, please subscribe to Quincy's channel. He lost his former channel and he really deserves your subscription. He's a really hardworking kid and he's extremely talented at what he does. I mean, I wish I had his knowledge when I was his age because he's definitely on the rise. And if he keeps working hard, he's definitely going to be going places. So I just wanted to say that to start the video. Like, don't check out my channel, just check out his. Okay, let's talk about some football. I love college football. You just feel the energy from the teams and their fans more than any other sport. So when they announced the college football playoff, I mean, I was extremely excited. Instead of the top 2 teams obviously fighting for the title like we had in the past, this time they changed it so it was the top 4 teams fighting for the title. And every year we've had a new team make the college football playoff. Even though Alabama has consistently made it every single year in the playoff, we've still had a new team every single playoff. And I expect maybe Michigan or Wisconsin to make it out of the Big Ten, and maybe even Miami or Auburn to make it. So, I mean, there's a lot of good teams that definitely could push for the college playoff this year. But what exactly if these teams get close but don't make it? And there have been teams that haven't made the playoff before in the past. That really urges me to say that I think that the college football playoff needs to expand to probably a couple more teams. And honestly, my hatred started for the college football playoff back in 2014 when TCU did not make the playoff. And that was because week 15 they were ranked number 3 in the playoff, and then they played another game against Iowa State at home and TCU blew them out, but then they were moved from number 3 to number 6 in the final poll, and it just shows the inconsistency in the voting, and I feel like that showed. I mean, the playoff committee has definitely gotten better, and I feel like they knew that they kind of screwed up by doing that, but still, that just irks me because they had a really talented team, and to rank them 3 one week all the way down to 6, even though they had 1, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, why did they put them there in the first place? But, I mean, that's besides the point. Now, I will say Ohio State definitely deserved to make it because they ended up winning the national championship. But let's say TCU and Baylor got in if we had moved it to a 6-8 team playoff. I definitely think that Baylor or TCU could have really vied for that national championship. And that's why today's video, me and Quincy are talking about why the college football playoff definitely needs to be expanded. And Quincy obviously has his opinion on how many teams should make it, but I myself think that 6-8 teams would be perfect. And so the college football playoff is actually set until 2026 with a 4-team playoff. And it probably won't be till 2026 till we actually see the expansion. It's definitely going to come then. It's just the question if we see it come earlier. Now, ESPN back in 2014 had a 12-year contract with the college football playoff to broadcast the games. I think they were paying like $7.2 billion. So obviously ESPN's had some financial issues. So I don't think that ESPN's going to have the money to roll out and say, hey, let's expand this thing and let's just make it bigger until that contract ends where maybe ESPN has the money by then, or maybe another television network like CBS or Fox could buy the college football playoff and then broadcast the games. Because that's the big issue, because they're saying that it could cost $10 billion to expand the college football playoff. So that's why we're probably not going to see an expansion anytime soon. Now here's how exactly an 8-team playoff would work. We would take the 5 Power 5 conferences, and each of their winners for their conference would get in, so that'd be 5 teams, and then we'd have 3 potential at-large teams make it as well. So if a bad team somehow ends up winning their conference, and I'm not sure exactly how they would do the conference championship games, if they would just eliminate those and then have the best overall champion make it. Because let's say a bad team made it out of the one side of the conference and then a really good team made it out of the other because the sides were not as competitive. And then a bad team ends up beating the really good team in the championship, like they were the number 1 team in the nation. And then a really bad team ends up winning the conference, and then an at-large. It would definitely be logical because just in case a really good team loses, they can still have a chance to make the college football playoff. And honestly, there's a lot of logistical issues that haven't been discussed, and there's a reason that none of this has actually gone through. But I'm just saying that I'm just a fan, and I think that the college football playoff should be expanded, but I don't know all the logistical issues. And the only way to logically get the college football playoff to 8 teams, or maybe even 6 teams, is getting all the Power 5 teams to agree, like all the commissioners of each conference, to agree on a deal that would work best for all of them. And honestly, 8 teams is the perfect number, because the 9th best team wouldn't be a national championship contender in my eyes, unless we're talking about the 2016-2017 season when USC they finished the football season number 9 in the poll, and then after the bowl games they moved all the way up to number 3. And I definitely think Sam Darnold could have led USC to possibly a national championship. I mean, we see 6 seeds win the Super Bowl, we see wild card teams win the World Series, and we see even the 8th seed overall in the National Hockey League go all the way to win the Stanley Cup, or even make the Stanley Cup as the worst team that made the playoffs. Now, another option I have is that instead, if we did 8 teams, the team that was the higher seed in the very first round would host another school. Could you imagine Michigan playing Miami and Ann Arbor? I mean, could you imagine Texas going to Georgia? I mean, Ohio State at Alabama? I mean, these are dream scenarios. And that's something I would really like to see, is that the first round, you would have to go to the school. And then once we got down to the final 4 teams, then we play in the bowl games. That's originally how it is now. And honestly, that's the reason I like college football so much, is that the regular season is so crucial. And that's why I've stopped watching the NBA a little bit, and that's why I stopped watching hockey in a way, is because the regular season is so long in other sports, but college football, if you lose 1 week, your entire season could be in jeopardy. And even if that is week 1. So that's my opinion on the college football playoff. I think 8 teams would be the best, and 6 would work as well. But I feel maybe the first 2, the 1 and the 2 seed, if we did 6 teams, we should have a bye. And then obviously I already said all my 8-team playoff. So again, thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to Quincy's channel. Like I already said, he really deserves it, and he's earned it. And he lost his last channel, so please, please, please subscribe to Quincy. It's not that hard. You just got to press the red button. It's very simple. So thanks for having me on, and I'll see you guys later. Come over to my channel if you have some time, but please check out Quincy's channel. See you guys.
Okay, see, he has a lot of good points. As, yes, how does TCU drop from 3 to 6 after blowing a team out? That doesn't make any sense. I say if you win, you just shouldn't, go down. I mean, you should at least stay the same, if not go up if a team above you loses. That's kind of bad. And Ohio State I don't think they should have been in that year. TCU is the way better team. They won the Big 12. Their only loss was to Baylor, who was number 6, and it was by a field goal. That doesn't really make sense. And I think this year, with Alabama making it in, I don't think you should make it in unless you win your conference. If you don't win your conference, I don't think you should get in, okay? I think it's as simple as that. So, I would have put Clemson, Oklahoma, Georgia, but at 4, I would have put Ohio State. But I feel like Wisconsin was better than Ohio State, so I don't. But Cole brought up his 6 to 8 team playoff, which I feel like would be a great idea. And I have a 12-team playoff that I would like. But another good thing that Cole mentioned, I don't know if you guys noticed, is have the lower seeded team play at the higher seeded team. And that's perfect, okay? I would love to see that. I don't know if you guys are fans of a certain conference, but me, living near the Big Ten, and my dad, who grew up in Tennessee, we have the Big Ten SEC kind of rivalry thing going. And I will admit the SEC is better than the Big Ten. I'm just going to throw that out there. But the one thing that I always bring up when we argue about this type of stuff is if Alabama went and played Wisconsin in the dead of the Wisconsin winter, I don't think Alabama would win, okay? It's those type of stuff. And if we do either Cole's playoff or my playoff, then we can have that kind of stuff. So, but what my idea is, you could see right here, is a 12-team playoff. Yes, 12. I know you guys might be sounding that's a little much, but let me think about it for a minute. I feel like there's closer of a gap between 4 and 5 than there is between 12 and 13. 12 and 13 where you start separating the 10-2 teams from the 9-3 teams. And if what I have drawn out here is if we made the college football playoff, used my 12-team format this year, if we used it this year, here's what it would look like. My thing is you give the top 4 teams bye. So the teams that would have been in the original 14 playoff get bye. So Clemson gets a bye, Oklahoma gets a bye, Georgia gets a bye, and Bama gets a bye. Okay? Then what you do is with your rest of your teams 5 through 12, you can just keep it the way the rankings are. And for the rest of the part, I didn't really have a problem with the rankings. The only team you would have had to decide is it was between Miami and Notre Dame. And that's pretty self-explanatory, seeing that Miami beat Notre Dame by 50. So, yeah. So, then what I would have is have the 5 play the 12. So, like, highest plays lowest. So, Ohio State gets Miami. Wisconsin would get TCU at 6-11. Auburn gets UCF at a rematch of the Cotton Bowl. And yes, you would have to have... Another thing people have been complaining about is you don't get that small conference team in. Like, UCF, that team was good if you watched them at all. I actually watched a few of their games. That UCF team probably could have beaten Oklahoma or Clemson. I'm not even lying about that. That team was legit. And then you would have Penn State USC in a rematch of the Rose Bowl a few years ago. And then what you would have is you would have the winner of 8-9 play 1, 5-12 play 4, 6-11 play 3, and 7-10 play 2. The reason I put those there is because this wouldn't happen in real life. But assuming the higher seed wins every game, you would still have the highest play the lowest. So 1 would play 8, 4 would play 5, 3 would play 6, and 2 would play 7. I hope that makes sense. Sorry if it doesn't. And then you have the winner of that game with the championship, and you have the championship. And I just feel like that's would be way better than 4 teams. Because you have so much debate with the ratings. Now, one problem, and Cole mentioned this in his part, and I was not aware. The College Football Committee has signed a contract for the playoff for like the next 40 years. 30, 20, I don't know. Cole said the year in his part. That's a problem if we want to expand it, because you would have to come into agreement with all 4 conferences, 5 Power 5 conferences, and if you're going to add an at-large team, then I don't know, but I'm telling you, this would be way better for the fans. But one other problem is the bowl games. You have your Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl, stuff like that. What I thought you could do is make like this the Rose Bowl, this the Orange Bowl, this the Cotton Bowl, this the Sugar Bowl. Make this one the Fiesta Bowl, this one. What's the last New Year's Six bowl game? Rose, Sugar, Cotton, Peach, Fiesta. I don't know what the last one is, but make it that. And then, starting up here, have the team that's the higher seeded one get home field advantage. Then, down here, what you could do is, I guess, wherever you're hosting the playoff, I think next year it's going to be in Atlanta, have these 2 games in Atlanta, and the championship in Atlanta like a week later. I feel like it would make it a lot better. And another thing that I heard is it's going to make the season too long. The NFL plays 16 weeks in a season. College only plays 12. Let's say if your team were to go from the first week to the championship, you'd be playing 4 extra weeks, okay? That's the same length as an NFL season. And these guys, a lot of them, are going to become NFL players. So what else would it be than just training endurance for the NFL? So, another thing I want to do is what this bracket would look like. I would think Penn State would beat you. I don't know. I think Penn State would beat USC. I think Ohio State would beat Miami. I think TCU would probably beat Wisconsin. And UCF beat Auburn in real life, so let's just pick them there. You'd have Penn State, Clemson, Bama, Ohio State, which I think a lot of people would have wanted to see. Oklahoma versus UCF, and Georgia versus TCU. I would say Georgia there. Honestly, I would say that UCF team was so good, we'll never know, but I actually think they could have gotten there. Clemson, and then Bama. So you would have had Clemson, Bama, UCF, and Georgia. I honestly think UCF could beat Georgia. They run an offense that I don't think Georgia has ever seen before. And honestly, you could have if you find a good enough team, you could have your at-large team, the non-Power 5, make it to the championship. Just think about that for a minute. So, now what I'm going to do is, another thing that I wanted to do in this video is, Cole and I have mentioned the 2015-14 playoff. And that was pretty bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take what the format would look like in 2014 and make it 2015. Now, it's going to take me about 5 minutes, but it's going to take you a blink of an eye. Okay, we're back, and I have the teams. So, what it would look like is you could keep the top 4 teams, even with Ohio State at number 4. I would be okay with that. But it would be Alabama number 1, Oregon, Florida State, and Ohio State. This is the Marcus Mariota, Oregon, the Jameis Winston, Florida State, the Ezekiel Elliott, Ohio State. Then, and let me mention something about TCU. They had Trevon Boykin. 2014 was about the year I started getting into college football. Like, I'd watch it, but this is when I started becoming, like, a hardcore fan. Trevon Boykin, this man was electric. At one point, he was, I bet you, as good as Marcus Mariota was. That's how good this man was. He was electrifying the entire Big 12. Alright? Then you have Baylor, who was right behind TCU. They're at 6. A thing I didn't realize, Georgia Tech was at 7. I had to look up these rankings. I'm not sure if they're 100% accurate, but okay. I didn't know Georgia Tech was that good. Still, they were still that good in 2014. Then you have the Connor Cook Michigan State, which let me tell you, the Connor Cook Michigan State was a legit team. I'll tell you that. Then you have Georgia before they came to Georgia today. They're still Georgia. That was, I think, yeah. Then at 10 you have UCLA, who is also a good team. I didn't realize at that point. Then you have the Dak Prescott Mississippi State, which I'm sure would stir some buzz in there. And then Arizona State was at 11. So, as you can see, these are all good teams, but only 4 of them could make the playoff. And with my format, you have so many good players that would eventually become star NFL players like Ezekiel Elliott, Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston, Dak Prescott, Trevon Boykin's the backup for Seattle. Let's not talk about that. Connor Cook. Just a bunch of players that could stir up some buzz and possibly lead their teams. So, that's a lot better than Alabama, Ohio State, and Oregon, Florida State. I'm sorry. But, hold on. Now, let's talk about the games. Michigan State, Georgia. Before Michigan State, Georgia, Ohio State went 14-1, combining their college football, the 2 college football playoff games. Do you know who that one was? That 14-1? It was Michigan State. Just throwing that out there. So I would say Michigan State would be Georgia. I know Dak Prescott, now we realize, is better than Trevon Boykin. At the time, Trevon Boykin was head and shoulders above Dak Prescott. It's just that Dak Prescott's more of an NFL-type quarterback. And Boykin got drafted by the Seahawks, and they have Russell Wilson. But at the time, Trevon Boykin would have lit up Mississippi State. TCU would have won. Baylor ASU, I think Baylor was the only team to beat TCU, and it was by like 3. And I don't really know who was on ASU that year, so I'll take Baylor in that one. And then Georgia Tech, UCLA. These are two teams I didn't know were good back in 2015, but I'd say Georgia Tech. That triple option, it either is good or it's not. So then what you'd probably get would be Michigan State, Alabama. Ohio State beat Alabama, okay, because Ezekiel Elliott decided to stomp all over them. And Michigan State was the only team to beat Ohio State. So could they beat Alabama? I mean, I don't know. That's some stuff to be had. I mean, we did see them in the next year's college football playoff, and freaking Derrick Henry ran all over them. But this is like pre-Derrick Henry. I'd say Michigan State's got that one. Oh, the one everybody would have wanted to see, TCU and Ohio State. That'd be such a good game. I don't think you realize how good that game would be. Like, top 10 games that we wish we could have seen in college football. I gotta give it to TCU, man. I think they're the better team. But, man, that would have been a fight to the death. Florida State, Baylor. Another one. I mean, we saw Jameis Winston, but they got embarrassed by Oregon. I don't know. Baylor, Florida State, I don't know. I hope you guys are seeing. This is way better than just 4 teams. Then I think Oregon would win. So then you'd get like Oregon, Baylor, and Michigan State, TCU. 3 completely different teams. Instead of a team that shouldn't even be there. Because they were at number 3. I think what happened in the standings was TCU was number 3, and Florida State was 4, and then Ohio State was 5, and then Baylor was 6. They decided to move TCU down to 5 after they won. All these teams won in there like last week. They moved Florida State from 4 to 3, and then they moved TCU from 3 to 5, and then moved Ohio State up to 4, which is pretty bad. But I don't know. I feel like if this playoff went out, I feel like it'd be like TCU Oregon, which would be really fun. But anyway, I hope what you guys are getting at is this is way better than a 4-team playoff. So thanks for watching. Go show some love to Cole's channel, please. If you stayed to the end, go show some love to Cole's channel. I know he said the same thing about me, but I'll leave a link to his channel down below. His videos, I promise you, are way better like quality than mine. He does a lot of editing. I don't. But trust me, he has some good content that you will like. So, yeah, guys. My next video, I'm thinking Francisco Lindor top 10 plays. How do you feel about that?